Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen other pairs will be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, I'm actually filming this video a day earlier than I normally do. I normally film on a Saturday. Today's a Friday. I'm filming it a day earlier because I will not be available to film on Saturday. So I still do want to get the content out to you guys, but I have to do it a day earlier. So that means the market hasn't actually closed yet. We've still got about 4.5 hours left before the market closes. So the market is practically closed, but there's still some trading left to do. But I don't think there'll be any two major moves between now and the end of the trading week. If there is, apologies for that, but the market should be pretty flat until the end of the week, which is basically 4 hours time. But yeah, slightly day earlier, apologies for the inconvenience. But yeah, guys, back to the video. So I had two positions this week. We'll go through my trades first. Feel free to skip ahead and use the timestamps for that. But I had two trades this week, one on dollar Swiss, caught some shorts up here. I'll give a full breakdown to the trade in a separate video, but essentially look for the break and retest, caught the trade there, nice entry on some good confluence. These are my TP areas, banked some profit there. My final TP's down there, almost got there before seeing some upside. So I'm holding onto the position, stop losses at break even, and taking some partials. So it's going to let the trade play out. And USD, which I've just only hopped in the past hour, hopped into this trade on a nice bearish engulfing on the hourly over there. Stop loss above the zone, had some really nice structure here. As you can see, lower lows and lower highs. Market came back into that resistance, so looking for a push to the downside. So this one is pretty fresh. Again, not expecting anything too major. We'll be holding both positions into the weekend, so I'll give you updates on them, how they finish by next week. By next weekly analysis, but during the streams you guys will obviously see. But yeah, only two trades this week, both coming on Thursday and Friday, so towards the end of the week. Had to stay patient throughout most of the week, but I'm happy with these trades. Hopefully we can get some more profits from them. But anyway, we'll move on to Euro USD. So Euro USD, very bullish this week, big push to the upside as expected. Coming into the week, we were bullish for this one. Price was respecting some key areas on the daily time frame. As we can see with that broken resistance here, turn support, and obviously with the trend line, a lot of rejection there, seeing some good strong momentum on the daily, and obviously that was mirrored with the 4H time frame, seeing some nice bullish structure, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, and that continued throughout the week, and another continuation to the upside. So coming to the week, I said there could be some nice buys on the low time frame on this area here. Had a nice retest pretty early in the week, so that was Monday. I had a really nice early retest, and since then the market has exploded to the upside, and it's still looking bullish. I'm still expecting more upside for Euro USD. The targets on the daily time frame, if we did see this up move, which obviously we have, was back into the resistance up here, because this is the original high where we had the first retracement from, came back into the same high, fell to break through. So this is the resistance where we're having a lot of trouble breaking through here at 1.1. So that subsequently is the target for this up move for Euro USD. However, price is very bullish. We need price to pull back. The only legitimate area I can see to actually long Euro USD from, is back down at these areas here, 1.08650 down at these levels here. That was the prior resistance. Price consolidated and broke to the upside. I think, yeah, that was news. So yeah, price did really clear that resistance. But in these areas here, price got some resistance down the left. Unless you're on the lower time frames, you're not really looking for buys, all the way up there. So for me, Euro USD, I need to see some retracement before I look to buy it again. Price is giving some nice high lows, as we can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this here could be a fifth for the continuation higher. Like I said, 1.1 is where I expect the market to go. So theoretically, we want to see some downside before we get there. But will we? Not too sure. We might just, push through without us. But in terms of the trading opportunity, looks good. A lot of confluence there. As we can see, a bunch of higher lows, good structure, good momentum. High time frames make sense as well. And we've got a good probability that the market will get to 1.1 based on the daily time frame and how the market is reacting with that same area. So I'm expecting Euro USD to push into that level. Obviously, you can see a bunch of wicks up here, so retracement is likely. The only thing I'm not too sure about is if we will see such a big retracement. But despite that, that's the only place, that looks good to me with good confidence to actually long. If it doesn't get there, it doesn't get there. Not every move is a trade opportunity. You must be able to distinguish between the two. But yeah, Euro USD still bullish. Looking at buys from 1.06 1.086300, no, 1.06, 1.08600, mouthful there, 1.08600, there we go. So I've retested this level and targets back at 1.1 on the daily time frame. Okay, so next up we've got dollar yen. So USD JPY looking very bullish this week. I was looking to see if we can get some buys from 137.500 down here. Been waiting for that opportunity for a couple of weeks now, never really materialized as we can see. I was expecting to see a drop to the downside first and then the push higher, but this corrective structure was looking like a bearish channel, then it's turned sideways, and now the market is actually breaking to the upside here. So not a real good opportunity on dollar yen. Maybe in the lower time frames there was something there. The market is now printing all these higher lows, so all I'm expecting is that to continue. The long-term targets were 142 for dollar yen, which was back at this resistance here, which also lines up with the support there. And as you can see, we're not too far away from that, and above that, you know, I expect price to return to those areas there before we had that big dump to the downside not too long ago. So USD JPY, I'm looking at pullbacks. Everything is still very bullish. We've got lovely resistance here at 140.400. If we can get a nice pullback, and you know that's basically what the market has been doing, if we can get another one of those, that'll be excellent. Get another higher low in that area, got some good confluence there, got some higher lows as well, and then we look to carry that position higher, because USD JPY for me is just a very bullish pair. And if you look at all the other JPY pairs, they're all flying to the upside. Dollar yen hasn't really done that. It's obviously very bullish right now, but compared to the other dollar yen pairs, sorry, they're really flying. So dollar yen might be one of the yen pairs to give a good pullback. Some other yen pairs like Swiss yen, pound yen, euro yen, you know, might be a long time until we get a decent pullback with those. Dollar yen, possibly, if we can continue with this structure here. So me personally, I'm focused on 140, 400 for some longs, targets back to the prior high. Wherever that is, if we pull back from here, you know, that looks like a good place to buy back into. If we push a little bit higher, then yeah, my TP will probably be up there as well. But at the moment, I'm just going to be focusing on 142 since we're not there yet, but we might get there and then retrace, so keep an eye out on that level. But in terms of everything, in terms of direction and the level of interest, we're looking at 140, 400, 140, 500, and we're looking at buys to the upside. I'm not interested in sells whatsoever here with dollar yen, unless something drastic happens, like we break structure suddenly, impulsively to the downside, then I might consider looking for sells, but only if that happens will I consider selling dollar yen. So at the moment, focus on buys, 140, 500 looking good, and targets back to the prior highs, or we can look at 142, which is a decent daily level there as well. But yeah, definitely looking at buys going into next week for this one. Okay, so onto dollar CAD. So dollar CAD very bearish this week, breaking to the downside. And again, like I said, USD CAD not looking likely that we'll see the bounce ever since we saw the break of this trend line here. And I said price was starting to creep below the support level. It wasn't looking likely that we're going to bounce. I definitely want to look to sell USD CAD. So this move here definitely wasn't a trade for me, because we were coming to this level of support here. But now that we finally cleared it, now the sales do look very good. We cleared the trend line a long time ago, and now we've broken through some key support here as well. So for me, I'm looking at retracements and continuations lower, and at a bigger scale as well, because we're breaking through a bigger consolidation here, which is this push, this sideways movement that we've had over the past few months. So I'm looking at dollar CAD coming back into some support here as well. There's some key resistance here on the left, which we're probably not too far away from. Maybe from this level we can actually retrace, pull back, and then have the continuation back down to 1.29500, which is some distance away. So for me personally, I'm looking at pullbacks. We've got some good confluence here. This is obviously the trend line the market broke through, and that's the daily support, which will be now turned resistance. So if you scale that down to the 4-8 time frame, I'll be focusing on this level of support coming across here, which is around 1.33100. Let me delete that. And also we've got some lovely lower highs there too. So if you can see a pullback into this area, that'd be fantastic. Again, targets back down to the prior low. We don't necessarily have to push for the daily target. We don't necessarily have to push for the daily target down at 129. We can obviously target the prior low if we do pull back from there, but that's where I do expect the market to go eventually. So USD CAD for me looking bearish, still printing these lower highs here. It's broken through some key structure now. So now this bearish structure is definitely looking good to sell. And again, when I mean definitely, I mean it looks good to sell, but doesn't mean it definitely will work. Nothing's 100%, but it's definitely looking good to sell. So yeah, I want to see some good retracement for this one, because obviously we pushed bearish right now. We're at the lows here. I definitely don't want to sell it now, but if we do pull back, then yes, and onto some key areas like this would be good. We might even just see a retest of this prior low here, so keep an eye on that on the lower time frames. But yeah, USD CAD here looking bearish. It's broken through some key higher time frame structure, so I do think there's a lot more downside to be had for dollar CAD, and I'm looking at 1.31, which is what we're coming into. No, 1.32, sorry, which is the level we're coming into now. But then if you can break through that, I'm looking at 1.3, 1.29500 as well. So expecting a little more downside for USD CAD, but first let's see if we can get some retracement back into 1.3, 1.33 next week. Okay, so on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound still looking bearish, not as bearish as it has been over the past couple of weeks. We've seen some really big, long impulse moves to the downside. Now we're still seeing good momentum, as we can see here, but we're not seeing as confident moves. The move's not going as far. So with our shorts now with Euro Pound, I wouldn't look to push it too far, because the market's becoming a little bit more corrective, a bit more exhausted. So it might be sooner or later that we actually take a bigger a bigger push to the upside and have a bigger retracement. But in the meantime, we're still getting some consecutive lower highs here, and the shorts still look good, with the market still respecting that bearish structure and still seeing good momentum to the downside. And I still do have some targets on the daily time frame. It looks like this support is getting broken through. And we've got a lovely level of resistance here, which, as you can see, we formed the resistance and broke through for a lot of momentum and never had the retest of it. And again, most levels eventually get retested. So 0.85, where I've got this level at, is looking pretty likely, as we're breaking through that support, to get tested again. So what I'm looking at for Euro Pound is some pullbacks back into some broken support time resistance, aka this area here as well, which lines up with the lower highs pretty swiftly as well. 1, 2, 3, let's get a fourth and then catch the next way to the downside. And as you can see, it's kind of within the limitations of this descending channel. We're not trying to look for something too crazy here. You can see the market's creating these lower lows as well, and we're looking for a pop to the upside and a short-term move to the downside back into that level, where potentially we might reverse or go bullish or start to consolidate. We could evidently see that we've had a really nice bearish trend here, but now the market's getting a bit more corrective, forming this descending channel, which means that we're not going to try and hold the shorts for as long, not trying to push them too far. So if you can get a nice pullback into 0.85700, got some good confluence there. Let's see if we can get some good rejection, and then we've got a lovely place to short it back into 0.85, which is not only a good psychological level, it's also an untested level on the daily time frame, which looks very, very good for targets. So hopefully we can get a pullback for this one, because we might just dump into that level. But if we can get a pullback before that, that'll be fantastic. And then yeah, looking at shorts from 0.85700 for next week. Okay, so over to AUD USD. So this one's been very, very bullish this week. I've been looking for some good sells. It hasn't materialized. The market's just been chugging higher, consecutive high lows. As we can see, if I drop to the hourly, market's still pushing to the upside with all these high lows. Difficult to find any short opportunities, because again, you're just shorting retracement in a bullish trend here, which is just very, very difficult to do. Maybe in the low time frames you can squeeze some pips out of these moves, but on the hourly 4H, it's not going to end well. So I've been backing away from AU all week. We've come into some nice resistance, but again, that resistance failed to hold and the market's broken through that. So for AU, it's interesting. On the daily time frame, we had this big consolidation, which I was saying I was looking for the breakout to the downside. We got the breakout, but since then the market has actually broke back in and actually broke to the opposite side. So we've actually cleared the resistance here and cleared that level confidently as well for big candle closing on Thursday. And Friday's about actually my maths was wrong there. I said we had 4 hours left before the market closed. We've actually got 5 hours left. So yeah, we've got 5 hours left before the hourly, the daily candle closes and the weekly candle closes too. So what I'm looking at next week is some retracements and continuation, because this is a big level. As we can see, resistance there, resistance there, resistance there. This is a very, very big level in the market. So I'm expecting us to come back and respect this area here at 0.68 and retrace into that level, because again we've had a pretty big push, only one bearish candle there, so I'm expecting to see a couple bearish candles at least retracing this move, and possibly could find some nice buys to the upside. Long term, I'm still pretty bearish on AUSD because we haven't broken through any major highs in the higher time frame, but I definitely am not ignorant to the fact that the market is definitely changing from bearish to bullish here on the 4H and the daily, and breaking through some significant structures. So I definitely won't be looking for sells in the meantime for AU. I need to see some drastic changes in the structure before I even consider looking to sell again for AU. At the moment, this is still very, very bullish. So 0.68, if you can see some retracement back into that area, that'd be fantastic. Some nice rejection here, and again we can ride this momentum probably just back to the high there. It might go further as well, but this high probably makes for a good TP if we can retrace from this, and obviously that looks like a fantastic level to long from. Very, very strong level of resistance, now broken and acting as support, and we're likely to see some retracement as well from the daily perspective. So we could be seeing some long opportunities there, early next week. So AU for me, I'm looking for buys next week. 0.68 is looking like a good level to do that. I'm looking for a push back into 0.68878, which is this high. If we do push up higher before the week closes, which I doubt we'll do, but if we do that, then wherever that high is, that will probably be my target. The swing high will be my target. But yeah, looking at retracement back to 0.68, a break and retest of that level there, and possibly could be seeing a lot more upside. And if this is a big fake out, maybe you could be seeing the actual breakout to the upside. So there could be a lot of juice for the buys here. But for us next week, 0.68 is looking good. Let's see what we can get there on the retest, and targets back to the prior high around 0.688. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, lovely retracement over the past week or so back into a very nice level of broken support time resistance. This is one of the levels that I was looking at. The other level was up here, but obviously this level comes first. So lovely rejection. If price can come back again, double top it, that looks like a very good entry for next week. So if you can come back in, double top it, stop loss above the high, stop loss in a fairly safe place, targets back down to the prior low, keeping it very, very simple. Higher time frame still look pretty bearish as well. As you can see, the weekly still declining. You're expecting to see that bull flag come in, never happened. Now we're banging ahead on some resistance, so I'm expecting the market to continue that momentum. Lovely break to the downside, and now coming back to retest a very key area. So NZD CAD in my book still looking pretty bearish. I know we've seen some upside here, but I'm expecting that to end. I'm expecting this to be the retracement leg and see the next wave down. Don't necessarily have to target these lows for your TP. There's other areas you guys can consider taking your profit depending on your risk to reward and whatnot. But NZD CAD for me is looking good for a push back down to the prior low. But in terms of entry, do want price to push up at least one more time back into that level, and hopefully double top forms and we can see another push back down. So NZD CAD, keep an eye on 0.82659. That's the area I've got for the resistance to short from, and targets back down to the prior low at 0.80698. So more downside for NZD CAD, but let's see if we can get a retest of that level up there first. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So pound NZD still looking pretty bullish, and it's similar to NZD CAD. We're having a breaking retest of the prior high here. So obviously NZD CAD is the prior low, this is the prior high. Market came onto this level, had a nasty fake out. So anyone buying from here, buying off the retest from here, buying off the retest up here, again, great entries on a great level. But the market was quite nasty with this down move here, definitely taking out some stop losses here. If you have probably a bit more of a loose stop loss, maybe you would have gotten away with it. But again, with a loose stop loss, that does minimize risk to reward, but does help with win rate. So it swings aroundabouts, but yeah, nice respect to that level. Now the market is breaking to the upside, coming back into some resistance there. So for NZD CAD, what I'm looking at is this as being a correction of this big bullish move to the upside. Again, from a daily standpoint, I do think there's still a lot more upside to be had for pound NZD, and long term I still do think we can probably get to the highs there. So NZD CAD for me, I'm looking at upside for this, not NZD CAD, sorry, pound NZD, I'm looking at upside for this pair. And next week we can look to target the prior high there as well. So you can get some retracement, get some buys back into 2.07500, which is the high there, or just underneath. And possibly we can look to try and hold it further into the daily and the weekly level up there. But again, this is definitely a very important place that you do want to at least secure some partials at. If not, call it a day, because that's the prior price swing high. Again, don't want to be trying to be too greedy and trying to hold your profit through that and see price come back and take you out break even or even a loss. So make sure you do manage your trade accordingly. But yeah, pound NZD for me still looking bullish. Respected this support level, breaking to the upside. So if you can get a retest of this resistance, that gives you a nice place to look for entry and place your stop loss underneath, and then capitalize on another push back to the swing high. And then long term 2.09600 is where I expect price to go. But pound NZD still bullish on this one going into next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen flying to the upside, like we said, the yen pair is looking very, very bullish. And again, this one breaking through this level here. This is one of the places that we were looking for CAD Yen to get to. I think we got there last week. So yeah, from a high time frame standpoint, I was jumping on the high time frame for the yen pair just to see where long term they could be headed. And from a weekly, monthly point of view, we could be heading back to the prior high. Because obviously, let's not forget, over the past, couple of years, actually, no, it was 2021, 2022. Yeah, actually, so first half of 2022, the yen pairs were very, very bullish. And, what we may have seen over the past few months may have just been a correction of that. And now the market is back to revisit the prior highs. And already some yen pairs have broken through, like pound yen and euro yen have already broken through them. But CAD yen and maybe dollar yen could be slowly working their way up there, or should I say quickly, because they are flying at the moment. But 110 could be the place where CAD yen is working ways towards. Again, we've broken through some major highs and the market's been relentless with all these high lows, and has finally really picked up some pace here to the upside. So with CAD yen, we're looking at retracement, because again, we need to see retracement for us to get into the buy. We might not see much retracement. The momentum could keep flying into 110. But for us to get some good trades, at least on the hourly perspective, we want to see some retracement first before doing anything. So going forward, CAD yen, I'm still looking at these high lows connected by the trend line here. It would be nice if we can get retracement into that prior resistance and see the continuation from this area. So keep an eye on 106.208. Again, at the moment, this is only the only legitimate area which I'll consider looking to buy from, which is at the max height. So obviously there could be some areas down here, but anything above this, we're just seeing blue candles or green candles. So there is no kind of, good level of confidence to buy from here on the 4H time frame, apart from 106, 300 and everything else beneath it. So yeah, with CAD yen, unless we form some areas midweek next week, which could look good to buy from, I need to see a retracement at least into 106, 300 before I consider getting involved again with CAD yen. But in terms of the bias, we're looking at more upside. In terms of targets, we're looking at 110 based on the higher time frames as well. So CAD yen, want to see some pullbacks, multiple time frame analysis, all pointing to the upside, monthly, weekly, daily, 4H, hourly, all showing bullish momentum. So at no point will I be looking for sells on any of the yen pairs. I don't think. No yen pair I'll be looking at sells for a while, unless something crazy happens and we see a big break of sharp to the downside. But most likely we probably won't see that. So yen pairs for me, I'm just looking at good pullbacks and following this momentum to the upside. So CAD yen 106, 300, keep an eye out for some longs there next week. And targets, again, back into the prior high. So if we push up and say we retrace from here, then my target for next week for that trade will probably be back to the same resistance. Maybe I might leave some to trickle back to 110, but wherever we form that swing high is most likely going to be my target. So I don't know what price that will be. If not, you can use the psychological levels 107,500, 108, 108,500, or you can just use the high time frame outright at 110. That's up to you. But for me, I'll probably just use the swing high. So wherever that forms, probably will be my target for next week if I do get into a position. But yeah, that's my outlook going into CAD yen for next week. Okay, so on to pound USD. So another market that is just flying to the upside right now, breaking through some critical highs. Last week we were looking for price to return back to 1.265 into the resistance here, because we had a nice breaking retest of this resistance here. Oh, wrong tool. Had a nice breaking retest of this resistance at 1.245, and ever since then we were looking at some pullbacks, which we did get onto the resistance here briefly. As you can see, lovely move to the upside. So now that we've broken through the resistance, cleared it by some distance, I'm looking at the weekly time frame for targets, because again, on the left here there's not much to work with, but I have found a nice level of support here which we broke through in the weekly and haven't got a retest of, and it lines up with a really nice psychological level of 1.3. so that's what I'm looking for pound USD to head to next, and my area of interest is just going to be this prior high here, because again, we've broken through that. We're looking for the market to correct itself and retest. They were a little bit overextended. We can see the market structure: low, high, low, and obviously some new highs. So I want to see some correction before I look to do anything with pound USD. And in terms of direction, I'm looking at buys. Another market which I'm not considering, looking for sales at all. If the market does drop, it drops, but I'm not interested in selling the market. I'm only interested in taking buys from a multi-time frame perspective. You know, weekly, daily, 4H all displaying a lot of bullish momentum, so I don't really want to go against that, especially as a swing trader as well. I want to be with that momentum rather than against it. So looking at some corrections, 1.265 is my area of interest. We'll monitor this level for some entry signals. If we get it, I'll probably just look to take my profit back to the prior high. If not, then 1.3 up there looks good too. But yeah, definitely looking at some buys for 1.265 next week. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD looking pretty bullish. I'm now looking for buys for pound CAD. This week I was looking to sell pound CAD coming into the week. Had some nice confluence here, lovely daily resistance level, and obviously we had some nice trend lines here connecting the lower highs. 1, 2, looking for a third one for another drop to the downside. We did not get that. The market broke structure to the upside and is now looking fairly bullish. So for me, for pound CAD, I'm looking at corrections and continuations. Got a lovely level here, which obviously was the daily resistance previously, which we were looking to sell this week. Now we turn support, which I'll be looking to buy from next week. And again, we've got some good bullish structure here. And I was talking about potentially this idea coming into play, because we still do have this bullish trend here with these higher lows. As we can see, the market is still respecting that structure yet. We haven't actually broken through any critical low, and as we can see, we respected it and now looking pretty bullish. So I'm expecting this momentum to continue. I think we probably will follow what pound USD is doing, which is very, very bullish. Pound CAD and pound USD are quite correlated, so I do expect to see pound CAD probably go and follow what pound USD is doing, come back to the highs down the left around 1.71, 1.715. So yeah, looking at some pullbacks for pound CAD. Hopefully we can get some downside early on, and then take that momentum to the upside and targets, you know, near enough around the 1.71 mark, back into the prior daily, weekly highs up there. So looking a lot more upside. Let's hope we can get a good pullback into 1.6845. Then yeah, looking at continuations next week back to the highs. Okay, so on to pound yen. So pound yen still very bullish and pushing to the upside as we speak, really pushing here. So for this one, we need to see some pullbacks. Again, we've broken through major resistance after major resistance, and now we're just kind of just creating our new highs here. You know, we've got a high over here in the monthly, which we could be heading towards eventually. There's some key resistance here as well. I was talking about price coming to this low, we've already broken through that. So next target could be looking at 187 and potentially 190s. So yeah, pound yen very bullish, and what I want to see for this one is just pullbacks, because again, I'm not prepared to buy a market which is flying to the upside like that. So on the lower time frames, there could be some areas around here you could look at pullbacks into around 179, because again, if I drop to the hourly, we get some nice high lows we can start to map out now. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. You can get a bigger pullback. That'll be very, very nice next week, and then see the continuation to the upside there. So if we can get some pullbacks into around 179, 180, you know, you can probably look at some nice entries on the hourly 30-minute time frame to take it up. Me personally, I'm not really seeing much. I mean, me personally, this is not a bad level there. You know, we're seeing a lot of high lows here, but yeah, it's going to have to be a hell of a move for us to get there for me to buy. So pound yen, I'm not really focusing next week because it's gone too far. The other yen pairs which have a bit more hopeful prospects of retracing onto a good area. Even CAD yen looks a bit better. Dollar yen looks better as well. But yeah, pound yen is one of those pairs which is really flying away. So unless I see a drastic retracement, I'm probably not going to look to touch this one for a while. You know, I need some levels to develop. I need some confidence to build up first. So if you are going to trade pound yen, you probably want to drop at least hourly 30-minute, or maybe probably even lower 15-minute to ride that pullbacks. But you know, longs are definitely your best bet. I know price is very extended, it's far, and naturally people might be afraid to buy and want to sell. But again, in this momentum where we don't really have a natural target to aim for apart from the monthly highs up there, you don't want to be trying to call the tops in this. There's probably a lot of traders who tried to call the tops in pound yen over the past few weeks here as we're pushing to the upside, and they're just giving away gains or just giving away their capital to the market for free. So make sure you let the market work for it. And if we're seeing a lot of bullish momentum, look for your buys. Of course, nothing's 100%, it'll fail too, but at least you're buying with that momentum. So keep an eye on 179, 180 looks good for some buys in the lower time frames. For me, I'm looking at 176, but frankly, I probably won't be looking at pound yen next week because it's just way too bullish. So keep an eye on the lower time frames. We've got some nice resistance around here, turn support. But yeah, well and truly for me, there's other yen pairs that look a little bit better. And again, target's probably back to the prior high, wherever we pull back from. But yeah, pound yen definitely bullish going into next week. Okay, so now on to gold. So gold for me, I'm not liking the price action with gold. I've been speaking about the consolidation here at 1940 and 1980, and price is kind of trapped between the two levels. And this week it looked like market was about to break underneath. Momentum failed to continue and push through. And I was saying on the streams actually that gold looks bearish. It looks like we are breaking through, but I want gold to push away a little bit more before I start looking for my break and retest, because also it's a nice breakout, but we've only cleared it by very, very weak bearish candles. It's not like last time, which we broke through a key support of strong candles to the downside and we picked up momentum. This was very weak candles here to the downside, so I wanted the price to push away a little bit more with a bit more force, and then I'll consider looking for my break and retest. And we never saw that. Price just push straight back into the consolidation. So analysis literally remains the same for the past couple of weeks now, with gold going into next week as well. I've got the highs around 1980, but then we've also got some important resistance here as well within the range, which as we can see the market's respecting too. So gold to me just looks like a very sideways market, which is just moving sideways. So for me, I'm still looking for a price to either to clear 1980 or 1940 again with some force, and then I'll look for my continuations in either direction. Possibly there could be some nice buys if you clear this resistance back into 1980, so there could be some nice range play on the lower time frames into that level. Not really a trade that I'll look to follow, but for me, I'm still keen on the breakout and the continuation, because the more that we consolidate, typically the bigger the breakout, and gold's been consolidating for at least 2-3 weeks now. So I do think we're gonna have a nice little move for this one. If it's the downside to the upside, I'm not really too bothered. I just want to see a good opportunity. But yeah, gold is is still printing lower highs here ever so slightly, so we might actually see the breakout to the downside again. But in terms of actually looking to trade it, I need to see 1940 snap properly before I do look for retracement. So even though the lower highs exist there, I'm not trying to anticipate anything just yet. So we'll keep an eye on the breaks of the highs and the lows, but at the moment, nothing to do on gold until we get a breakout next week. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin this week, we bounced from 25k. I wasn't willing to take the buy with Bitcoin because it was such a big candle in the 4H time frame, but we are seeing a nice bounce from this 25k mark. So I'm still looking to buy Bitcoin because 25k is still a level which I think could give us a big move like that, or at least has the characteristics of one. But I need price to start breaking through some convincing structure first. And in the 4H time frame, the reason I didn't take the buy is because it was too big and we're very close into this level of broken 4H support term resistance here. So this is one of the reasons why I was a little bit not most optimistic about taking buys in Bitcoin, because all these consecutive lower highs the market has been printing here, it's very, very difficult to get a nice move for this one. So I'm waiting for price to give us a big push first, and then I'll look to try and capitalize on some retracement of that, because this well and truly could just be a big bull flag. So we've got the big impulse to the upside, and this here could just be a big correction of that big move. But I want to see evidence that the market is getting ready to push the upside first. So for Bitcoin, for me, I'm still looking for buys, but I have to be patient. Actually, there could be some sells in the meantime as well, because again, we are coming back into the resistance here at 26k. Same reason I do want to buy from. We could be seeing sells back into the 25k mark as well. So in the lower time frames, could catch a nice little lower high here. So again, a bunch of lower highs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could see a 7th coming back into this 26k mark, and could give us another drive back down into 25k again early next week. So for me, I'm looking at buys, but at the moment, all I'm seeing is sells. So I want price to start breaking some structure to the upside first. Then maybe we can actually use this 26k as support to catch some nice longs to the upside. So the buys is what I'm still looking at for Bitcoin, but at the moment, we haven't cleared that level yet. and again, that entry was way too big for me to take in terms of the risk to reward perspective. It's a good entry because obviously good wicks and nice momentum, but we've got resistance not too far away. I'll be lucky to get 0.5R into that first TP. So yeah, Bitcoin looking at buys above 26k, but coming to this level, monitor for some rejection. Could see some sells on the lower time frames back into 25k next week. And last but not least, we got our bonus pair, which for this week is US30 in indices. So yeah, looking very, very bullish here for US30, and I really do like the price action for this particular market. If you look at the other major US indices, US 100, S&P, all of those have been flying to the upside, breaking through some key resistance. US30 hasn't really done that until now. We're breaking through some key resistance here, and we've got this wick over here which got a lot of liquidity above, which I feel like most likely we're going to go and take out. So for me, for US30, from a daily perspective, these are our targets up here, this wick high up there. So I'm looking at more upside in that direction. And from a 4H perspective, we've broken through a key resistance level here as well, and maintaining this lovely bullish structure, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, and now recently higher, high. So looking at pullback onto this key level here to catch the next wave to the upside. Got some lovely higher lows there. Let's see if we can get some entries on a break and retest. As you can see, prior resistance once, twice, briefly there after a bit of a fake out. Now be acting as support if we can come and retest it. And this is where we look for our entries, looking for that next higher low for the continuation back into the prior high or back into the wick up there, which I'm expecting to be taking out eventually. So US30, the reason why this is looking good is because we've got the break of this level here at 34k, 34,100, which is a big strong level on the daily, which is now broken. So we're seeing from a higher time frame perspective that bullish momentum is prevailing. So now from a 4H perspective, you can trade this bullish structure here with a lot more confidence, expecting it to continue higher with our target slightly above our head there around 34,800. So yeah, US30 looking very, very good. Let's get some pullbacks into this level here, looking like a good opportunity with good risk reward depending on your entry as well. But yeah, looking for buys from 34,100 back into that wick there around 34,800, 34,900 for next week. And yeah, guys, that brings us to an end of this weekly analysis video. If you found it useful, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Make sure you do hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Telegram channel. I update their channel with my trades and my watch list for the week. So if you want to stay up to date with that, make sure you are in the Telegram so you don't miss out on that. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Really do appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend. And yeah, I'll catch you all next time.